Urban Explorer of Reddit. What was your I Bet a GTFO story?
I was exploring an abandoned mine shaft for the second day in a row. This time I brought more friends and better flashlights. The door I had gone through the first day was now padlocked shut. That should have been the first red flag, but we found an entrance from the rooftop into one of the main buildings and continued to explore anyway. After exploring about 3 floors of mine shaft below ground, we were back on the main floor exploring the workshop garage, and I was looking through the cracks of light coming through the rusted metal walls, when I noticed a bright color that stood out from the rest of the area. It was a man looking back at me through the cracks. I was seeing his blue sweater. I could see 2 sets of eyes looking into the room that we were in. After whispering to my friends that there were people watching us through the wall, we fucking booked it out of there and jumped off the roof and into the woods. The men were in a pickup truck and drove around looking for us, even getting out of the truck to look around. We couldn't see them from where we took cover, but we could hear the truck stop, the doors open, and footsteps breaking leaves and twigs only 20 feet away from us. We hid there for about 15 holding out breath while the men searched all around for us. I'm not going back there.
Creepy. That gut-dropping feeling when you realize someone is watching. Ugh.
New locks and dogs. Steer the fuck clear. Meth labs, man. Meth labs.
Probably stumbled onto a lab. Nobody wants you bringing anybody back once you find an area that they can safely make their product.
What state?
Damn, it was a group of men. I wonder what they were. Good thing you made it out safe.
I was exploring an old storm water filtration plant once. The lower levels of the main buildings were all flooded, which was super creepy, and it was pretty overgrown. This was my second time there, and I wanted to see more than I had last time. A friend of mine and I had the bright idea to climb into one of the pipes that had an open manhole cover, really stupid for a whole bunch of reasons. We figured we had a pretty good guess where it would come out, as there was another manhole on the other side of the compound in line with where the pipe was heading. When we got all the way there though, it turned out to be welded shut. The worst bit was when we turned to go back, we realized we'd been slowly going downhill. The pipe was fairly slimy, and it seemed for a minute like we wouldn't be able to go back the way we'd come. I've never quite felt that level of claustrophobia before or since. Edit, as others are rightly saying never do this. I realized shortly after how dangerous it was. Thanks for the safety tips and up points, friends.
Not Urban, but a mate of mine, his then GF, and I were exploring a cave system we found, 3 hours into a hike in a national park, kilometers from the nearest road access, in a coastal region called Wilson's Promontory, in southern Victoria, Australia. Now I'm a skinny 6'1", but we were both skinnier and shorter, so we got to this one narrow bit that we could all get down by sliding on our butts. The cave was pitch black and wet, though we had our phone torches thankfully. Weird-ass cave bugs kept dropping on us, and eventually we headed back. So they both climbed back up the tunnel, but it turned out that my shoulders were too broad to actually move my arms enough to clamber up. Thankfully my arms were extended, and my friend could reach my hands. He almost dislocated my shoulders, but thankfully with a bit of wriggling, I was pulled out. The alternative was a long, dark, cold stay in a hole that would have become a major rescue operation requiring heavy machinery, and possibly the destruction of some pristine wilderness that I'd never have forgiven myself for. Claustrophobia hits you hard when it's intense, and boy was that intense.
Reading the end of that made it hard to breathe for a second. That sounds terrifying.
Please, please, please do not ever enter a confined space like going down an old manhole. Toxic gases can build up down there, and since there is little to no ventilation, oxygen can be displaced and you could easily suffocate and pass out down there. Before construction workers enter a manhole, they always check the air quality inside and wear a harness to be pulled up and rescued for a reason.
You fucking idiot. Glad you're okay.
This post almost gave me a panic attack.
Was exploring an abandoned TB hospital. Heard a sound that sounded a lot like a homeless person snoring. It took a while for my friends and I to work up the courage to go in the room where we heard it, but we were rewarded with the sight of a vulture's nest.
In Oklahoma, I was looking around some land that my mother and aunt inherited. I found a foundation and basement for a homestead that had been destroyed. As I got closer to it, I started to hear this hissing sound and I freaked out a little because there are like 4 different species of rattlesnake here and the closest hospital is half an hour away. I kept going and look into the basement cellar thing and there are 2 baby buzzards, turns out they hiss when they get scared.
Does a homeless person snoring sound different than a non-homeless person snoring?
I convinced a group of about 5 or so of my friends to go with me into this old house that was in an odd sort of industrial area, like on one of those service roads next to a highway. The only way in was to go through the basement and through a hole in the wall at the top of the stairs. After exploring for a while, I thought I'd do a scout mission for fun that involved me just walking around the house to check for cops. Well, what do you know, there were cop cars just pulling into the street with sirens on that were pulling into the restaurant next door. Someone probably reported us. The exit was on the other side of the house from the cops. I quickly called up to the others to climb back out and we somehow managed. I don't generally believe in intuition, but I do find it odd that I had the urge to do a sweep right when the cops showed up.
I don't know if there's any truth to this, but my dad has always claimed intuition is triggered when you start hearing a disturbance, even if it's really quiet. As in, it's not loud enough for you to really hear it, but enough that your body is aware something has changed. He grew up in Belfast during the Troubles and always claimed he was saved by his body noticing changes in the environment he was in that triggered his intuition. Could very well be bullshit though.
I was taking a look at some of those massive smokestacks in an abandoned factory and I heard a radio squelch. That's time to go, right there.
Used to do security at a racetrack at night and I'd usually hit the monitor button on my radio, which turns off the squelch so you can listen to the channel unfiltered or pretty much pure static, every so often so people would know I was nearby and I wouldn't have to deal with them, unless they were supposed to be there.
What is a radio squelch? Does that mean you overheard radio go off nearby?
Can relate. I rode my motorbike up to the top of an abandoned parking garage. Saw there was 2 ramps to get off the top floor, so was chill about anyone messing with me. Saw 2 patrol cars coming into the garage, but not all the multi-floor ramps were safe. Heard that radio squelch the floor below me. I did a trick taught to me by an old rider. Just put the bike in neutral, no power, no lights and roll away. I picked a down ramp, and literally rolled right through the cops walking up, and the down to the next floor. Power on, roll start second gear, and blasted away. No chase, but it would have been pointless for them as I was long gone into a grid of streets alleys.
No really scary ones other than random bums yelling and stuff. But there were a couple of good encounters. One. Messing around in the outskirts of a train yard taking pics of old train cars and stuff. Ran into I guess a mechanic or maintenance worker or something who ended up being super cool and started up and pulled a locomotive out of the shed for us. 2. In an old abandoned mining site somewhere I came around the side of a big machine thing and ran into a homeless dude living in a tent. He also turned out to be cool. We gave him some of our food and sat around for a while talking.
Yeah, I wish my run-ins were like this. LMAO.
Little bit late here, but I once went exploring with my brother on an old abandoned naval base at midnight. We snuck into the officers' quarters and were just exploring when we heard a weird noise. We're both into photography, so I decided to take a flash photo and see if I caught anything weird in the light. The camera went off and we both saw a massive, 6-feet-long bee's nest on the side of one of the walls. I think our presence has just disturbed them, because hundreds of them were already crawling in the outside of the nest. It was the single most scariest thing I've ever seen, and it was gone in a second because of the camera flash. We noped the fuck out of there right as a cop was pulling up to see what we were up to. Lol. Edit just dug through my old laptop for a couple hours to try and find the pictures. They're not very clear, but I think this is a portion of the nest.
Well, you see officer, I'm actually a professional bee photographer.
Dude, I have such a bad bee phobia I think I'd have rather seen an actual fucking ghost.
Haven't you seen a horror movie in your life? If you have to use the flash to see the source of a noise, you might as well just start running. Because no matter what you see, it's going to be horrifying. Examples: teddy bear. The teddy bear didn't make that noise. It must have been whoever's teddy bear that is. Person that's a cannibal. Nothing. So then where is it? Probably behind you. And no matter what you do, don't use the flash a second time, because it is going to be closer this time.
You still have the picture? I want to see that, no questions asked. Except for that one.
How can you tell a story like that without telling us if you have the photo?
Edit well since someone asked here's the video. Immediately after is when he blared the horn etc. Oh boy do I have a story. Went urban exploring in an abandoned college campus. Was pretty cool, due to be demolished and there was some really nice graffiti. At the time I kept sending video messages to a friend of me roaming around looking at everything. The way the area was set up was pretty much a singular building in this giant lot with nothing on it, right in the middle with it being open area about 100 meters either way. The building was 3 stories and on the ground floor had an open area where there appeared to be an abandoned car, so I was messing around looking at this graffiti and the random junk everywhere and recording videos for my friend when I finally went to record the graffiti right next to the car. I started filming a video of the graffiti when what do you know? The car turns on. I immediately throw my hands up and point towards the gate to gesture sorry didn't realize someone was here, I'll be on my way. When the guy starts blaring on the horn and starts revving the engine, at this point I'm startled and decide to gun it down the driveway back to the gate and what do you know he starts speeding after me in the car whilst still blaring on the horn. Due to being startled and running I apparently accidentally hit send to the video I took on my phone to my friend, whilst all captioning it 11:11 as I was running away. I have the video saved if anyone's curious. At this point I was right in the headlights with him right behind so I turned off the driveway and ran over a pile of rocks, falling down on my way down the other side of them. Scratched my knee really badly, glasses went flying off and got scratched up too. I get the glasses and sprint more like hobble quickly to the fence where there's some bush covering. The guy pulls up nearby and winds down the window and you could smell the car from how far I was. It was putrid and the guy for sure looked like he was living out of the car. I have insane adrenaline going and sort of slink further away through the bushes but can't get over the fence. I figured I could wait the guy out. I was there for around 20 minutes whilst he sat there with his car idling. By this point my friend was practically having a panic attack thinking I just got murdered and my adrenaline was wearing off and the pain from my leg was setting in so I couldn't climb the fence and get away quickly without him noticing. My friend was messaging me like crazy asking if I was okay and she ended up driving to the place to rescue me. She pulled up a bit up the street and the guy drove up towards there which gave me the chance to climb the fence. She rushed down to where I had said I was, picked me up, and we drove off. Never have I been so scared in my life, and have never appreciated someone more.
Fuck that. Mind sharing the video? Would you mind sharing the video if you're comfortable with it? Edit fuck that's creepy.
Commenting to remind myself to watch this when it's not 330 am and I'm no longer shaking from reading all this shit at night.
This video makes this scary off.
Did you get a look at the person in the car? If so, what did they look like? That video is creepy as fuck as soon as those lights flick on.
OMG, that's too much. Glad you're okay.
This is a fucking horror movie. Young lad exploring abandoned site, maniac shows up in car, tries to run lad over, young lad gets hurt and have to hide etc. What the fuck?
Not sure why this isn't the top comment.